Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and
Hello.
today, hello Susan, hello Alex,
Hello.
hello. It's as if we haven't seen each other for ages. Hello. Um, Today we are discussing a Craven movie made in 1991. Apparently, he said it was sort of based on news items, what was happening at the time of some real events. So, we are talking The People Under the Stairs, um, a tale of a trapped young boy in a house where he discovers things what shouldn't really be there.
Right?
Um, right, yeah. So we'll go over to these two reprobates over there, and we'll see what their opening thoughts are on this movie. Over to you, Tim.
Yeah, my Cuban mother is a big fan of Wes Craven and has been since the beginning, even when he was making the movies that weren't so big that they were more closet classics. And this is like in the early '70s. Now they did remake the little house on the left or whatever, and they have remade Nightmare on Elm Street, and some people have considered that Scream is now remade.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a TV show about it as well. They wanted to remake People Under the Stairs.
Oh, they did.
I really don't know how you're going to do that any better.
It was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen the movie in a while. Like I said, my mother liked Wes Craven movies. It is kind of funny how she's seen more horror movies than I have. And I actually don't like them unless they're silly.
I mean, this one had some silliness.
And yeah, and it was, it was smart, especially the ending. The ending was very smart, and the characters are interesting. And of course, the other reality, of course, if you read any real science fiction or horror, is that the real monsters are the human beings. The human beings can be a lot crueler than almost anything you can dream up.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of sad in a way, the characters here and what they're like. Of course, they're so gruesome and greedy that you don't feel too bad when they meet their end.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Which I thought was pretty funny, also, in a way. So, yeah, I mean, most of the Wes Craven movies I've liked. I don't know about Deadly Friend. I'm still on the fence about that one. But also, I saw a lot of people that did not like that movie, even if they were Wes Craven fans, and also the budget. And I also think there was probably, you can always tell what studio interference there is as well. Granted, this is the '80s and the '90s, and it's a little different back then. And I think some of the other things they were sort of able to get away with. I don't think they'd be able to do that now. I don't know if it's going to get remade. Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake wasn't good for most of it. But yeah, I like this movie, not as much as the other movies, but I like this movie, and I thought it was brilliant social commentary, and I think people forget, as we've mentioned so many years here, that everything is political, but you also have to have perspective, and you also have to laugh at it. People tend to either ignore things, take things too lightly, or take it too seriously. And of course, once you're dead, there's nothing you can do. So if you don't vote at all, that's bad. If you take it too seriously, it's bad. It's an extreme. You sort of have to think about it. Now, I don't want to reveal too much, so I'll let Lee finish up, and then I guess we'll spoil it. I mean, this is from '86. So,
Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead of Lee.
Jump in.
Go on, then. Jump ahead.
All right. Well, I enjoy this. The People Under the Stairs is, it must have formed part of the mindset of Harry Potter, because Harry Potter lived under the stairs. These sort of zombied people, cannibals, and who ended up, well, they ended up being cannibals because they were basically, falsely imprisoned in this house for 25 years by this brother and sister team who were just freaking nightmarish. I mean, as Alex said, the people were the monsters. And I mean, he's a white guy, and you can't trust white guys to do normal stuff anymore.
Oh dear. Hey, we do and don't resemble that remark.
Okay.
I'm wounded.
No, don't be wounded. I'm just,
Dear me.
I just can't with what's going on around here all the time.
Well, they were very Republican, unfortunately. They were very Republican, and they were very MAGA. Fitting that
mindset. Yes.
Yeah, fitting that box of sexually perverted, cruel.
Yeah, I mean, here,
loving guns.
What was her brother? It was her brother, sister, and he wanders around the house in a gimp costume.
I know. I was getting flashbacks of Pulp Fiction. I'm like, what the hell?
It was giving me flashbacks of my club I go to. Anyways.
Well, the funny thing is, Lee, a big Rames is in this movie, so I was like, oh my god, it's a weird Pulp Fiction tribute.
Yeah, there was.
It's so weird.
There was some of that, and the brother, and then what was the kid's name? The one who was in the walls first?
Roach.
Roach, yeah, Roach was great. He was wandering like through these secret passageways to the house, and the brother was shooting holes in the walls trying to get him. Eventually, he did get shot.
Yeah, that was the other thing that was weird, is that house seemed to be like a little mini city or
like
10,000 catacombs and
like a castle more than a house.
It was just bigger on the inside.
Oh yeah, I know, yeah. Well, of course, I would have found it more realistic if there had been bugs and mice, but I was like,
there weren't like too many, because
five houses in one.
I guess the kids were the people that they kidnapped were eating them. It's okay.
Well,
you got to get your nutrition somewhere, because they were eating. I'd rather have them eating rats and mice than people. In my humble opinion. I mean, people have better flesh, but mice aren't just don't turn you into a cannibal.
Okay. Anyway,
it tastes like chicken.
Yeah. We don't want to do Doctor Who tributes right now. Like I was just saying, people forget sci-fi and horror is also an allegory. So I mean, this was not too subtle an allegory.
There was no such a subtlety to it. It was very
technology that they were abusing, guns they were abusing, and then this brother and sister team who call themselves mommy and daddy
oh my God, that was
are
creepy.
More sick than the people that they're complaining about. They're the devils.
Yep.
You want to talk about projection in a political sense.
In a political,
literal sense. So unfortunately, there was nothing redeeming about mommy and daddy, but the nice thing is they get their comeuppance at the end.
Yeah.
And it was pretty funny how, one of their favorite pets gets killed. They have a little bit of remorse on that, but it is good that the kid called Fool, who I guess was Poindexter was his name, got revenge on them pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Although okay. I didn't understand.
Let's throw it to Lee so he can do his opening thought, and then we'll talk about all the parts.
I didn't understand why his family sort of asked him to pay rent, though.
I know. Let's throw it over to Lee.
Well, like I say, I got this movie confused with another movie, but hey, I sat down and watched it today, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was quite a nice little surprise, because compared to with a movie we watched a week or so ago with cannibals in it, this was a sort of a more enjoyable cannibal story. It's quite an intriguing one, this. Say you've got mommy and daddy, which halfway through the movie you find out that they're brother and sister.
Yeah.
Played by Everett McGill and Wendy Robbie,
Uh-huh.
which I knew from the year before because it was 91. They played a husband and wife in Twin Peaks.
In Twin Peaks. Yeah, that's why it was so.
I think Wes Craven saw them in Twin Peaks, and they worked so well together in that show. We'll have them as the paired up in this, not husband and wife, but brother and sister. And as you say, they were monsters. Really, really monsters. I mean, I was quite surprised when 1 minute, as you say, he walks in with his gimp gear, his bondage gear on, and I thought, what the hell's going on here? What am I watching?
I know.
What am I watching?
You just wonder what's coming up next, kind of, don't you?
Well, the other weird thing is like he's in a lot of the scenes he's wearing blood almost like it's cream. It's like, dude, can you wipe yourself down a little bit? You know?
I did find in this the lead actor, the young kid, what's his name? The Fool, Brandon Adams, who played Fool. Great story for him, but I don't know about you two. I found what he was saying and the way he was acting. It for me, it felt like it should have been an adult playing that.
Huh.
He was saying things and doing things what an adult would say.
Yeah,
He's only what was he, 8-year-old or something?
Yeah,
to 12 maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and I thought, I mean, you take the movie for what it is. It's a comedy horror.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go with it, and say I'll allow for this 8-year-old acting like a 30-year-old, whatever. But the words coming out of the kid's mouth just didn't seem right to me.
Huh.
I mean, again, I don't know, if he's a new actor, that's one thing, but I mean, remember the situation. I mean,
oh yeah,
you're living in a situation like that. I mean, that's the other reason why it's so creepy, because the world's turned upside down, and I mean, he has to be 3 people in one if you think about it.
I'm just wondering if the original script was meant for an adult, and then they decided to change the character into a kid, but not change the words.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't do that much research. I don't know, but the other
I don't know if I don't know if it would have changed it too much to have it played by an adult.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is then he wouldn't have been able to get through the the tunnels and all that too.
Well, this is what maybe this is why they eventually they changed the sort of film wise, and right, we'll have kids running around and stuff, and we'll just make that character into a small kid.
Well, the other thing too is that the girl that they were talking bad about and they were treating pretty bad, so I don't know how she was able to be anything like Mother when she wasn't, is the fact that that was another actress who I believe was in the Freddy series, and even if she wasn't in the Freddy series, she was also in another sitcom, which was the spinoff of Growing Pains, which is the other Freddy Krueger actresses were in both shows. So it's kind of funny how they're all, connected. But again, AJ Langer, who, even I went, my God, this character doesn't seem to have a lot. I mean, I'm kind of glad at the end, she had more guts, but I was like, okay, and then it gave me a little bit, of sort of a nostalgic feeling away for Carrie. But it's not that she was weak; it's that she was very quiet. And it's like, you're in a house with a dirty animal cannibal that want to kill you and molest you. I think you want to have a little bit more, spirit. I understand maybe she can't confront them, but I did like that in the kitchen at the end where Mother finally got confronted. She was.
That you said the mother. Now I want to clarify this. All the people what was under the stairs, they were kidnapped, wasn't they?
Right, they were.
Yeah.
They were kidnapped. So Alice, was she kidnapped or was she the real daughter of Mummy?
No, well, she says in the movie she wasn't, but I didn't see the whole thing from the very beginning.
I've got quite confused. I thought, is she the daughter?
I don't
How's
think
the
it really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but has the brother and sister done the act?
Yeah.
If you ask me, because of a bunch of different like factors, I say yes.
Yeah, they probably did have relations, but
It's the young girl had never seen the outside.
Right.
well, I mean, again, maybe because the other problem was everybody else was either she
they
was
were-
their
they were
special
kid-
picked, I guess.
Yeah, and they were kidnapped. The other people were kidnapped long time ago because they were like in their,
Yeah.
what was it, in their 20s or
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, well, they can't be their children because it wasn't really explained.
right.
Well, I mean, again, there has been kidnapping cases in real life too with
Well,
similar
Oh yeah.
results. So.
This is what it was sort of loosely based on. Some news item that was breaking.
There-
He was making this.
There have been a few, of these houses where people were trapped and kept and stuff for years and years and years.
So
This is where Wes Craven got the idea from.
Yeah,
He made this movie.
he did.
yeah, I mean, again, that's the ironic part about horror and science fiction is that it's not 100% fiction.
Oh no!
But it's yeah.
Any science fiction, any fantasy, any horror could be based on true life events.
Right. So yeah. So
With
it's also
a little twist and a little tweak there, a little change.
So they have a I mean, even Wanda Sykes, the comedian, the African American comedian, said, "I'd rather have somebody mug me on the street and be done with it, that they go away, rather than corporate who mugs me for 20 years." So I mean, she does have a sort of a warped point.
Uh-huh.
As long as you're not dead or worse, the mugger just takes your wallet and runs. But if you work for a company with only morals on paper and no morals in real life and no compassion in real life, they can steal it from you forever, technically. So that's a lot worse.
All right, but
than that.
none of the. What was also really interesting was how do you have a house like that and not have a job? Just spend all day.
Well, they were
like fucking around.
Well, no, they were. They were landlords and they owned some office buildings. Because remember
this is why the community was in the state it was, because their rent was so much. They were just draining the community of money.
Right.
And of kids.
Well, yeah, we assume so.
Well, the only other thing I found slightly unrealistic was the money on the floor everywhere. But I said, well, they might also be hoarders, so maybe that isn't totally unrealistic. But even I found it a little weird. But I said, well,
What's a dragon's hoard?
Yeah, if we know
these two are the dragons.
Well, but I'm just saying that I can understand them having a little bit of money thrown places, but not everywhere, and certainly not that weird mountain that I thought was like concrete or whatever.
That was nothing but money.
But
honey.
Well. But I mean, that's the other issue with if you get that greedy, then you sort of have not only no conscience anymore, but the fact of they were the sexual perverts, but they were projecting that everybody else was.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's the other.
That's really.
But I mean
point.
that's the other reason why horror and science fiction works, because it is, it's shrouded in truth. That if you get that greedy, then how do you know if you have any compassion or any conscience or.
Well, these guys obviously didn't have anything.
Everything is something for you to use, drain, whatever.
Yep.
So so that's why you don't feel too bad for them at the end, But that's fine. But I did love it when at the ending when the kid, tricked him and also told him. It was very blaxploitation at the end, when he confronted the guy at the end with the two wires, But I mean, he had to, he didn't have a gun, so
Yep.
that was the only.
He was quite savvy, wasn't he, for his age?
Yeah.
This is what makes me think the character was.
That's why you like he's an adult.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, if his family's charging him rent, he has to grow up quick. You know, I mean, his family's charging him rent. He did keep his promise to go back for the girl. He kept that promise. You know, most people wouldn't have, because they know they probably would have been dead. He did see Vic Graham's character, you know, get killed.
Oh my gosh.
So it was kind of funny that, you know, that in a way they were able to, and he was able to get the people that were kidnapped to, you know, work with him.
Yep.
So, you know, that part was good. So, I mean, again, that's probably why it hasn't been remade, because I think they probably have to do a few rewrites. And it probably would have to be more than 2 kids, because it's just the way, you know, things have changed. Plus, they'd probably have to put it in the digital age too, which would complicate the
without
story a little
like anymore, you kidnap a kid, you gotta figure out a way to get their cell phone away from them.
Well, the other,
and let me tell you that's a hard ask.
No, but the other problem too is that we know most studios will probably have them on the internet too, so that would be another area that they would have to attack. Whereas this was still before everybody had a cell phone.
Yep.
And everybody had a smartphone.
So let's talk moments then, shall we?
Yeah. All right.
Over to you. What moments? What took out for you?
Well, I thought the ending was great. I thought that the exploding house that sort of showered a bunch of cash on the and receipts and beautiful coinage and everything on the neighborhood and on the rest of the people in that area was beautiful. And I thought that also I loved it when they were exploring under the stairs, like the very beginning, and like these all the people who were behind that slat sort of what did it remind me of? It reminded me of pallets. You know, like 4 foot like pallets, one on top of the other. And so then they're shining their flashlights through, you could see, you know, half their face and stuff if they were shining the flashlight on the faces. And then I also like the makeup. I like the makeup of the kidnapped kids. I liked how they were shown to be really super white and bleached out, and yeah, they all had they maybe from eating so much people, they developed a ridge across their brow.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention this. I mean, if they were supposed to be just normal people kidnapped, why did they look like vampires
or Neanderthals? You know, they had the straight up features of an earlier form of humankind. I don't know.
I mean, again, you know, you got to remember, if they're more cannibals and evil than the people that they're kidnapping, then they're, you know, charging too much rent. So the only other thing that I thought was slightly unrealistic was all the electronics and all the, you know, tunnels and such. But then again, you know, it would have changed the movie a great deal. Maybe it would have made it better, maybe not, you know, if they had gone outside. But like I said, I was 5 or 10 minutes late, so I don't know what I missed. But I know Ving was in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Ving Rhames, and then he got, you know, killed in the movie.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, it's, you know, that's the other thing about horror and science fiction, is that you always have to have a world, and the world was the house. The world was whatever these, you know,
crazy
monsters had thought up for all these tunnels. And
yeah.
And I mean, it was nice in a way that they had a conscience for the dog.
Yeah.
But at the same point, it's not good that they, you know, they partially.
Oh, that was another good part. Was the dog part.
But then again, the dog's killing people too. So
yeah.
I mean, you know, you had to kill the dog because it's killing people.
It's not the first dog, is it? Because it looked like he'd killed the dogs before.
Right.
Because they had little shrouds to the dogs.
Yep.
Yeah. So Right. So I mean, that's the other thing is
True.
that in their world, they're in charge and everybody else is the slave. So
Yep.
that's why you don't feel too bad about it when they get killed in the end. But I mean, again, uh, the only other miracle is why they didn't get investigated before. But as we know from watching true crime and the strange.
Well, they were investigated. The Children and Family Services came and knocked on their door.
Yeah, but I mean, again, they can hide behind that house, and you can have. I mean, it basically was an underground city.
Yeah.
So you could hide everything. The only other thing is, I don't know how they avoided smells, but unfortunately, in 2022,
good point,
where we're still dealing with a pandemic now, Netflix is back again with Dahmer, even though it has excellent actors in it. I thought it was a little strange that they want to have a Halloween costume for little kids of Jeffrey Dahmer. It's
I know.
Okay, I understand people have to be a little bit, a little bit evil, but could we have a Halloween costume of somebody who's commendable, not somebody who isn't commendable? Can we please?
Yeah, that is wrong. I mean, okay, have a Freddy costume, have a Michael Myers costume.
But they're fictional.
Serial killer. No.
How about if you want to talk about somebody who's current and dangerous and everything, why don't you do the Q shaman?
Yeah, but that's still a bad example. But I understand what you're saying. But I mean, again,
all he did was poop in the corner.
Anyway, the other reality is that we're a little bit older, so we remember when Dahmer first was a shock. This is like the revival. And although I love true crime, I don't really think that it's good for society to have I don't need a revival of all the bad stuff in history. Thank you.
Well, that's why.
Don't forget it, but don't revive it either.
That's why, even though there have been some releases of girls and kids from houses like this, over the last few years,
anyway.
This movie really hit home.
Well, I don't know if I give it that much credit.
I mean, didn't you say one of your people worked on the movie?
Yeah, my friend John Davis. I spent a lot of time looking for him, but he's not on Facebook.
Ah, right. So what did he do in the movie? What was he?
He was a production assistant.
Oh, right. So he was quite involved in it then.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, if he's out there and he watches this video, the whole crew of that movie made a damn good movie, in my opinion.
100% agree.
It made me laugh. It made me go.
Oh, what were your jump scare moments?
Well, not really jump scare. I did love the idea of the house being so. It was like a well, not a trap, but you could not get out the house.
Like a labyrinth.
It was strengthened windows, locks, electronic doors here and there. The setup was amazing.
Yeah.
The stairs, collapsible stairs, which is so Scooby-Doo.
That really was.
So, but there weren't really jump scares for me, but it was the shock, and when you realise things like that do happen, or are even happening now.
Yeah. Oh my
what
gosh.
we don't know about.
I know.
And also as well, at the end of the movie, when you realise the money's flying all over the place, the house is blown up, you've got 20-year-old cannibals out on the street now. They're just wandering off, aren't they? They're thinking it's going to take a long while for them to get to normal food.
Well, no, but I mean,
maybe.
I mean, this is, again, this is the other problem with, horror and science fiction is that, they're scary too, but at least they're not running around. Hopefully, they're not running around with the evil intent of, Well, some of them might recreate it, but hopefully they won't, But I mean, that's.
But if the only thing that you've ever known is eating people. then you're
Well,
gonna
you know,
you
but
might keep eating people.
yeah, but
Exactly.
that would make it a lot more nasty if they had to go, be blown up in the house too, because they were kidnapped kids, so
That's true.
that's the other thing, because they were kids.
Where was the innocence, right?
Well, no, there's horror movies about evil kids as well. We know a few in the movies and all that. But that's either because they're possessed or they're the actual devil or whatever. But
yeah.
So not a jump scare, but one of the scenes in this made me go, oof. It was the one where Mommy sort of threw Alice into the hot scalding bath.
Yeah, that was kind
no.
of cruel.
And, started scrubbing at her and all that. But you could see the water steaming.
Yeah.
And you could see her skin afterwards was
All red. Yeah. But that she was such an evil woman. I mean, like her character in Twin Peaks, Nadine, she was just a crazy one in Twin Peaks, and Everett as well, playing Big Ed in Twin Peaks, was connected so well in Twin Peaks, and they're connected so well in this movie.
Mm.
I mean, two couple of freaks, but
yes.
Well, again,
but Nadine was sweet, crazy, not eat people crazy.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing too, is that it's Twin Peaks. It's a weird town.
That it is,
and everybody in it is weird. And then,
yes,
as we know in the original series, he went crazy too. The cop went crazy too at the end.
Yeah, it's just that to get those two actors to get in this and absolutely play another level of crazy.
Yes, another level. Quite right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good on that Craven part.
I didn't see the revival of Twin Peaks, and I'm sorry he's gone, but I also didn't watch it because I thought there was too much violence in it as well. I was like, why is everybody hitting everybody in the revival? I was like, ugh. So that kind of turned me off. I didn't want to, watch that. But
yeah, a pretty good movie. I mean, so I said earlier, I hadn't seen it before because as I said, I thought it was the Indian in the cupboard.
Yeah, I liked Indian in the cupboard too.
No, like I said,
and we could review that. Put that on the list.
I got stairs and cupboard mixed up.
Yeah, right. I know.
But
I know. And you could have thought, oh my gosh, they're just talking about Harry Potter.
Well,
pulling into the stairs.
Well, not everything's Harry Potter, but my mother has always liked Wes Craven, and I know I don't always agree with the movies that she likes, but I see why. Like, I didn't like Angel Heart, even with Robert De Niro in it.
Yeah.
But I can see why she likes it. Not that I'm going to sit down and watch it, because it was a little weird. But of course, with it being Halloween and everybody playing, all types of horror movies. But we're talking about, this one's the 80s, where there were tons of horror movies in the 80s still, and they still were doing the original, stalkers and other things.
Yeah,
like
they
that.
They were really there was sort of a big bonanza of horror movies in the mid 80s, and it was just amazing, like how many different franchises were going on strong, and like how many people were plugged into these things, and
most of it was original back then.
And then there was there was Living Dead. There was the Scream ones. There was
but that wasn't in the 80s though. That's the next.
The one. Freddy. There was the.
Most of them were still original back then, except for Night of the Living Dead series, which also got bought and all that. So some of those were comedies, some of those were remixed, some of those were spoofs, some of those were.
See, for me, comedy and horror work so well together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get the too serious horror, and it can turn people away from it.
Yeah.
If you add that element of comedy in it, like Evil Dead and stuff like that, it's so watchable.
Yes, it is.
Well, that had a revival that came back.
I just was watching House that what was it called? House of the Dark Shadows, and it was basically the whole story of the Dark Shadows TV series, sort of compressed into one movie.
All right.
And it was, I mean, it didn't do a lot of time jumps, but there was just like a section of the time that they were talking about, and it was. I mean, there was a serious horror movie, a movie that took itself seriously, that took the source material seriously, and just went for it. Like
Well, I mean, Dark Shadows was, back in the 60s, it was black and white.
Yeah, but the other
nobody
thing
else
was
almost
really
nobody else was
interesting.
doing it, and it also was a soap opera, so it sort of had an interesting.
It was serious
twist.
about that, yeah.
Yeah, but it was also badly done, so some
Okay.
of that was unintentional humor.
Okay, but the thing that I noticed is like in some of these great stories about haunted houses is that they really do pay as much attention to the secret passageways as they do to the regular hallways. Like I can't honestly put my head around the shape of that house. Like it didn't make any sense that these great big huge like walkways were in the middle of the house going this way and that way and this way and this way and this way.
No, there's been a few houses that have been built like that.
I know that there are, but I mean,
life,
it was architecturally undiscoverable as a movie watcher. Were you able to put that house in your head?
I don't care.
If you
I'm saying a few of them. The only thing I cared about was there wasn't enough bugs and vermin underneath.
No, because they ate them all, Alex. Of course, that's because they ate them all.
Yeah,
and the dog ate them all and
that's
stuff
fine.
like that.
No, but I'm saying they had
people did and the dog.
Mar-a-Lago and a couple of other places were originally built with mansard roofs and all the other not ridiculous stuff. But they wasted money on that. So Mar-a-Lago,
but this
and
one
other places had
mansard,
a huge roof and a huge
mansard doesn't. Mar-a-Lago doesn't have mansard, and
okay,
let me tell you, and this house didn't have a mansard. It had
okay, but
a
my
peaky
point,
roof.
the point is that there are eccentric people, like Lee said. It makes it interesting because there's parallels that you can draw in real life.
Okay, I know, but if you can't put the architecture of a place in your head, and you spend more time in the
but it's a horror movie about cannibals. The architecture is not the main point.
Well, I know, but the house becomes a character of itself.
Yeah, that's why they blew it up.
I agree with that. The house was a character, but that was all due to all the passageways, the doors, and everything. He was a character, yeah.
It really was. And so kind of it was an interesting like mental exercise to try and figure out how this was architecturally.
Okay, well,
and I didn't draw any maps, but I did try in my head, and I didn't get it done.
Okay,
so because I couldn't get it done, I don't think it's possible.
Anyway, there was the Amityville Horror, there was the Poltergeist movies. There was
the Poltergeist movie had
the comedy of House in '86.
Okay,
and they've had horror movies with weird
the haunted houses, yes, and the house that dripped blood, and the house that
Right. So they've had that before.
The House of Long Shadows, the House of Dark Shadows. I know. I'm just saying. Well, I'm just saying. Like, listen. This.
Anyway. Like I said, my main point wasn't how the house was built.
That wasn't Alex. That wasn't your main point. Yeah. That was my main point.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's what I'm geeking out on.
Anyway,
that was a bit sneaky. Alex taking credit for your idea.
I know you did. It was like
no, but I'm saying that. That has been in horror movies before. I just mentioned the Amityville Horror and all that.
Right, Amityville Horror is a nice house that doesn't have passageways though, and it has a nice mansard roof. Okay. Okay. You mentioned one with a mansard.
And then you even had one in the comedy, field, which is also being redone of. The Addams Family was a weird house,
and that one that we watched,
and the Munsters.
The Addams Family have a mansard house,
and the revival of The Munsters again, this time with Elvira in a role,
Okay.
and Sylvester McCoy from Doctor Who in a role.
Okay.
Well.
And they did really good at that. But let me tell.
And they have a weird house.
And they have a weird house.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I just knew when we started talking about this one, the house would take more of this.
It was cool. Like they were under the stairs, but they were not only under the stairs, they were in the walls, they were in the basement, they were behind these pallets, they were in the attic. I mean, they wouldn't walk in on the roof. They wouldn't walk in. I mean, the house really, and the architecture of the house really gave them. That's why there was so much peril when they were up on the roof, because it wasn't a mansard with the slow, with the gentle top slope, but it was a peaky roof, so it became a real danger.
Well, as I love the chimney. No, I love the chimney and what happens with the chimney.
Oh, the chimney was great too.
I was enjoying that, but anyway. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, the only other thing that I didn't understand, but it was kind of interesting how it sort of hinted at Saw. After they jumped off the slanted roof, they slid down the roof, one side of the roof, and into the
pool.
And into the pool or the lake or whatever it was. When Fool suggested it again, the girl had to remind him, because he wasn't there.
Oh.
That was filled up with glass and all that, and I said,
broken glass and
my goodness, it's a little bit of Saw all of a sudden.
In that respect, if they would have tried that second jump, yes, of course.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting how, but like I said, they've brought it back and they haven't brought it back, and it's kind of interesting where the horror genre is going now. But this was in the 80s when they were still, doing the stalker stuff and the other famous movies that we review now, even though they're 10, 20, 30 years old now, like Aliens.
So apart from the roof,
yeah,
apart from the walls,
yeah, and the killer dog,
or rats or vermin or anything like that.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say about this movie?
Well, like I said, the ending was very blaxploitation to me. I mean, so it's kind of, and that's the other thing too. It's like it's a super commentary. It's a horror movie. It's a comedy movie. It's a black movie. It's a white movie. And then the ending was very, blaxploitation with the line just before he, puts the two wires together.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was actually very, very impressed.
I see that. That's a good point.
I understand that he was a little young, but
imagine not a little young to be saying those things, but a little young to be.
Yeah, he is actually a little young to be saying those things. But again, I was raised in a conservative area. But again, I mean, look what he's in. Look what he's around. So you're going to grow up. You're not going to have a lot of innocence left after you're dealing with all these either monsters that want to kill you or torture you, or you have adults who charge you rent at 8 to 13 years old.
Jesus, what the hell?
So you're going to be a little bit.
Yeah, he really was forced into adulthood.
Yeah, you're going to be
by parental push.
Yeah, but well,
I mean,
that's,
if you're, yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's another. That's the only other thing that I didn't find realistic too, because I thought the black woman with his father or his grandfather or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought the mother had shot her and somehow she didn't have any wounds when they were at close range.
Yeah.
And then the other reality of, they were monsters and they were, running the house, but at the same point, it's not a great society that kind of allows this to start with. And as we know from reading the papers, there's been a lot of mistakes and not mistakes and other misunderstandings, which any society, any society is going to have, huge faults.
Yep.
And as we know, there's plenty of even now there's been stories of people abusing kids, and even these women. There's a story in America about women actually putting on the masks and actually scaring the kids, not just for a minute or a second, but actually running around the daycare. Like, why would you do? I could understand for a second, do peekaboo or do the little, you know, because there is a part of psychology. That's the other reason why you say that horror and comedy are the same. Little kids, originally they're scared, but they laugh because they know it's not something to truly be afraid of, or they're afraid for a second. But these women, you know, you would think that American, you know, but they're running around scaring the kids for minutes and minutes, not just for a second.
All right.
So it's like it's a little bit strange.
It's just that's a nightmare.
Yeah, that they're doing this to little kids in a nursery, you know. So it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, there's some sad truth to that.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
I mean,
we're not going to talk about that anymore.
But anyway,
I mean, the saying of this movie is "Speak no evil, hear no evil."
mm-hmm.
Do as Mama and Daddy says, or else. I mean, Roach got his cunt cut out, and
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
and Alice was being beaten and scolded, and
they said that the other kids would have their fingers taken off or whatever to just or they would be silenced, like, you know.
Yeah, so
Personally.
I mean, right. So hopefully not all of them are bad, you know. But I mean, that was the other part that was slightly scary, and what, like you just said, you know. But everybody's busy there collecting money. It's like, okay, that's a little warped too. But again, that's why it works, because it's not totally fantastical. I mean, it is, but it isn't, because there's other movies that you know have shown that people do anything for money, and money is just paper in most respects. Especially back then, it was still paper. They were still working out, you know, wire transfer technology. It's not like now where everything's connected to your bank card and you have all types of possible digital, you know, money.
right. So,
About you, what about you? What do you think about that?
about what?
The possible social implications of the movie.
Well, I just enjoyed it for what it was.
All right.
You didn't find it as any way allegorical in a way, or no?
I just thought it's two crazy people locking people away. You know, if you start to think too hard into things, you lose the meaning of the movie and the enjoyment of the movie.
Yeah, I guess.
No, it was enjoyable. It wasn't.
If you start thinking too hard about what type of roof it has, or
Are you kidding? I always think about that.
No, I mean, yeah, Lee has a point, because there is a guy on the internet who somehow wrote a 100 pages on how Mork and Mindy's bad for society, and I could see some of it, but I was like, I don't know where we going to all that.
Just enjoy it for what it is.
All right.
So, shall we go to final sales score?
Sure.
Over to you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my mother, you know, likes Wes Craven movies. I know she likes them for a reason. Except for a few questions and, you know, a few things that bothered me about the movie. Like I said, I didn't watch it from exactly the beginning. I think I got in 5 minutes or 7 minutes in. But I mean, from what I saw, you know, it's good. It has characters. Everybody's a character in this movie. It does have a social commentary, even if you decide not to believe it, which is fine. Some people just enjoy the ride. You know, not everybody has to think intellectually about it or compare it to anything else, even though there was.
Okay.
But I basically give it I'd give it it's tough, because I actually like the acting too. I thought the acting was kind of what saved the movie. I would think if it was any weirder or if it was worse, then it either would have been a super cult movie or it would have been bad. And even though some things didn't make sense to me, I'd probably give it a 7.5.
All right.
You know, and I did think it had a social commentary as well.
And I thought it was really, really clever, really fun, and I did like the way it was portrayed and shot, and the makeup was great, and the sounds were great, and so I mean, it was just a really good movie, and The actors chewed the scenery right off the fucking wall, you know. I'm munch.
Munch on the plaster.
Well, you gotta make it entertaining and as real as possible, right? So,
Yeah, and they're shooting their everything that they were eating, they were chewing, you know.
yeah, and if it wasn't made by good people and Wes Craven, it would have been another weird version of Manos Hands of Fate.
Yes, true. And this let's see. I'll give this a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, it's just practically neat, nifty, and perfect. But yeah. So maybe I should give it a 10 because my friend worked on it. Like I'll do that. I'll boost it the other last half point because John worked on it.
Yeah, for those of us that did go to film school and for those of us that didn't go to film school. So now there's a question, Lee. If you went to film school, how serious do you take movies? As you graded in film school.
You could take them seriously, but you've still got to have that element of enjoyment.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
For me, I enjoyed it. It was, as you said, the acting was so sometimes over the top, but it suited the movie. The actors in it was amazing. You know, story-wise, it just drew me in. And it was a lovely roof, and the walls were brilliant.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give it 10 studded gimp masks out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know where that came from. That was just sort of left field when that appeared.
I don't know either.
So, yeah, that's our little review of The People Under the Stairs. Cheers, Susan. Cheers, Alex. You guys out there, if you've seen the movie, please leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of this movie. Yeah, get away typing or whatever you do on your screen or whatever. We're on all forms of social media: Facebook, Twitter, Insta, all that, and YouTube, of course. YouTube, if you subscribe to us, please press the bell notification button and you'll get notified every time we put a video. If you want to be in this screen here, if you would like to join us, leave us a message. You know, all we ask is that you be 18 plus, because we can get a little bit heated on the discussion, what we're talking about. You know, it has to be 18 because
we're talking about cannibalism and stuff and rape and stuff like that. There's a bunch of shit that we talk about that is really, really, really intense and could be quite triggering.
Yeah, so we prefer 18 plus. All you need is a laptop or a PC, tablet, or a mobile phone. As long as it's got a camera and a microphone, you're in. You know, just give us a message. You know, we don't bite much, do we, Susan? Especially after we've been fed. It's usually 2 hours, maybe 3 hours afterwards, we do nibble a bit.
Yep.
So I think that's it, is it? Have I done everything?
Yeah. Did you do the bell notification?
Oh, I did.
Oh, I missed it.
Yep. Sucker.
Anyway. All right, let's end it.
You just can't get the staff these days.
Sorry about that. Ding, ding, everybody. Ding, fucking ding.
Ding dong. So, yeah, until next time, guys, please be safe. And also, be careful when you go in looking under the stairs, okay?